Yes, Swamiji.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Sada Shiva Samarambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Parampara. In our last session, we discussed about from the 47th shloka to 42nd shloka, Yat anyat anyatra vibhavyate brahmat adhyasam iti aha amum vipashitah asarpa bhute ahibhavanam yatha rajvadike tadvat api ishware jagat. Now here in this shloka, as we saw, Prabhu Ramchandraji talks about adhyasa and something called as vivarta. Adhyasa, as we saw, adhi plus asa. Dhi is intellect. Adhi means where there is no intellect, or buddhi rahita, or ajnana, basically. So adhi asa. So asa is that which exists. That is, we see something which is not there, seeing something other than what it is. So then what it actually is, that is like the snake on the rope. Instead of seeing the rope, we are seeing the snake. Originally it is the rope. It is, so this snake is the adhyaropa, or the superimposition. Adhyasa or adhyaropa, the superimposition on the rope, the snake is. So when something appears as something other than itself, without losing its essential nature, without losing it what it is actually, then it is called as vivarta. So then we say that the snake is the vivarta of rope. Rope has not lost its own quality, essential nature, and yet it appears like snake in semi-darkness, whatever it may be. So this is called as vivarta. Similarly, the pure self is alone there, that alone exists in the entire existence and nothing else is there. But as rope appears as snake because of insufficient light and because of our own ignorance, it appears like that. Similarly, this pure self, because of our own ignorance, now it appears like this world of names and forms. It is this world of names and forms, the sansara is vivarta of the pure self, as the snake is the vivarta of the rope because of ignorance. Similarly, the sansara of names and forms is vivarta on the self. It appears like that, it is a superimposition on that. So we have seen that time several examples of this vivarta. Blueness is the vivarta of sky. Sky has no color, space has got no color. So this blueness is only a vivarta, an appearance, a superimposition. Mirage water is again on the desert sands. That mirage water cannot wet even one grain of sand. So it is only a vivarta, it is only an appearance. Similarly, sometimes a post is mistaken for a ghost. So this ghost is a vivarta on that post. So there are these kind of examples are often quoted in the scriptures. So there is nothing to reject if this vivarta is taken away, if the right knowledge is there, we don't have to kill the snake. Snake appears because of our insufficient knowledge, because of our own ignorance, that rope appears as snake. Once that knowledge of rope is confirmed, then do we have to kill the snake or do anything to the snake? No, nothing. So similarly, we don't have to do anything to these names and forms and this entire Anantakoti Brahmand or anything like that. Let it be there as it is. If the vivarta is there, let the vivarta be there. Who cares? As long as we know, once we know, we just confirm that it is snake. In the light of the torch, we have seen it is confirmed that it is not a snake, it is a rope. Now, when we see again there in the darkness, we know there is a rope lying there, which appears like a snake. So then that will not delude us. So therefore, when that self is seen like that, what is there to reject? There is no snake to be rejected. When it is found that there is only rope, there is no snake to be rejected. When the self is discovered, when the pure self is discovered, or rather when we become aware of that, when we realize the self, there is nothing to reject. You see? So like the famous example of the mirror, it accepts everything, rejects nothing, it reflects everything, retains nothing. So that is what it is. So this vivarta, the theory of vivarta, the siddhanta of vivarta, the principle of vivarta has to be understood properly. Because according to Vedanta, na nirodho na cha utpattihi, there is neither creation nor destruction. But we do see this world. So some reason has to be given. So therefore, when we understand the reality of this world, it is vivarta only, it is an appearance. There is no absolute reality to that. There is only a relative reality. So then we don't get deluded by that anymore. Vikalpa maya rahite chidatmake ahankara esha prathama prakalpitaha adhyasa eva karani niramaye brahmani kevale pare. So the next shloka we saw this. This pure consciousness, Chidatmake, is untouched by, untainted by, uncontaminated by the vikshepa of Maya, the projections of Maya, the avarana, the veiling, and the projection, avarana and vikshepa of Maya. That is the pure self, Brahman, pure consciousness, which is the substratum of all. So, as we saw, this Maya is brought in to explain something that cannot be explained like that. Temporarily it is brought in. In Vedanta also, this factor of Maya is brought in to explain something which is inexplicable. It serves its purpose and then we get rid of that also. Temporarily, as we saw the example of the 17 horses in our last session. And then, Adhyasa eva atmani. So everything else is a superimposition on the self. That self, sarvakarani. That self which is the cause of everything, sarvakarani, is a substratum of everything. So adhyasa eva atmani sarvakarani. And then the first superimposition on the self is what? The first superimposition on the self is this ego, ahankara. So ahankara esha prathama prakalpitaha. So that is the first superimposition. That is what, after we wake up from the deep sleep state, the first superimposition is that ego. The ego manifests first, and then the identification with the body, mind, and intellect, and everything, and then all the samsara begins. So ahankara esha prathama prakalpita adhyasa eva atmani, superimposition on the self, which is the cause of everything. And this self is niramaye. Niramaye, that is pure without any contamination, without any taint, without any blemish of any projections, vikshepa. Brahmani kevale pare. So this is kevale, kevale, one alone. There is nothing else other than that. So where there are no divisions and therefore there are no bheda, Vijatiya or Sajatiya or Swagata Bheda, these types of bhed or differences are not there. One akhanda, indivisible, one whole, that is the self. Pare, that is the supreme. Then in the next shloka it was said, Ichhadi Ragadi. Now the thing is that if self is pure, untainted and nothing, and that is what our essential nature is. And if that is so, and it is blissful, of infinite bliss, this pure self is untainted, untouched by anything, then the thing is that why do we have so many desires? Why do we get miserable? And all those kind of things are there. Attachments are there, aversions are there, things like that. Ichhadi ragadi sukhadi dharmikaha dhiyah sanskruti hetavah pare pare yasmat prasuptav tad abhavatah parah sukha swarupena vibhavyate. So it was said that all these things, the desires, ichha, aniccha, non-desire, or the likes and dislikes, attachments and aversions, then sukha dukkha, happiness, misery, sorrows, joys, pleasure, pain, and all that thing, sukha dukkadi dharmika, sada dhiyah, it always belongs to the intellect, buddhi, and that is the cause of sansara. Sanskruti hetavah pare. So that is the cause of sansara. So it belongs to buddhi and it is the cause of sansara. Then continue, Prabhu Ramchandra said, Yasmat prasuptav tad abhavata para sukha swarupena vibhavyatehi. What is the proof that it belongs to the buddhi alone and not to the self? If it belongs to buddhi and not to the self, then I should not be miserable. If I am the self, I should not be miserable. If it belongs to buddhi, then let it be there. So the proof is that in the waking plane of consciousness, we may have experiences of happiness, misery, joy, sorrows, misery, pleasure and pain, and raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes, attachments and aversions, and so on. Similarly, in the dream state also, we may have this kind of experiences. But as soon as we reach the deep sleep state, the sushupti avastha, none of the sorrows, miseries, pains, tragedies, or of the waking and the dream state, they touch us in the deep sleep state. And what is the difference between the deep sleep state on one side and the dream and the waking state on the other side? The difference is the absence of the inner equipment, the subtle body, that is the mind, intellect equipment, along with the ego, that is absent. But the self is very much present in the deep sleep state. So we are very much present there. This intellect, this buddhi, and the ego that identifies with the buddhi, that is temporarily absent. And therefore, we do not suffer the tragedies of waking in the dream state, in the deep sleep state. But in the deep sleep state, we are very much present. And moreover, we are closest to our real self in the deep sleep state, and therefore, we experience some glimpse of the infinite blissful state. So therefore, whatever the tragedy, however big a tragedy must have collapsed over us in the waking of the dream state, it doesn't touch us in the deep sleep state, as long as we're in that state. Because there, ego is absent that identifies with the buddhi, which is having all these things, ichha and all that thing, raga, dvesha, and sukha, dukkha and everything. So that is also, they're not there to identify with. Ego is not there. And therefore, we are closest to our own self. And therefore, when we wake up, however miserable the person must have been, as soon as he wakes up, he says, I didn't do anything, but I enjoyed it. So that is the proof that it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the buddhi, not to the self. And once that ego gets dissolved, there is nothing to identify it with buddhi, mind, intellect, or the body. It doesn't identify with the body, mind, intellect, or anything like that. And therefore, many great saints, sages, and masters, they had lots of sorrows, miseries, and pain in their life. In the physical pain also, but they were in their blissful state because the ego was dissolved and there is no identity with that. So they didn't suffer like that. Then, Anadi avidya udbhava buddhi bimbatah jiva prakasha ayamitiriyate chitah atma dhiyah sakshitaya putak stitah buddhya aparichinna parah sa eva hi. So here the process of this jiva bhava, how this jiva bhava came to be, the pure consciousness with the upadhi of the antakarana, the inner equipment, mana buddhi chitta ahankara, and then this reflected consciousness. Now this antakarana, that is born of anadi avidya, beginningless ignorance. This inner equipment was born out of that beginningless ignorance, and when this pure consciousness is reflected, so the reflected consciousness is chidabhasa. So this pure consciousness, the chidabhasa, reflected consciousness, along with this inner equipment, so that is called as jiva. So jiva prakasha aham itiriyate chitah atmadiya sakshitaya puthak stitah. Now this atma, the pure self, is the sakshi of the witnessing consciousness, and it is separate from this intellect here, where this pure self is reflected, this consciousness, that is separate from that. And this buddhi is of course limited by thoughts and so on, but the self is not limited by all that. So it is separate. So this, which is unconditioned, aparichinna. Parichinna is conditioned by, limited by. So aparichinna means not limited by any thoughts or their modifications. So that is the pure self, that is the supreme, para, sa eva hi. And then to further continue with the same topic, clarification on that, the reflected consciousness, how this buddhi, which is actually inert, insentient, jada, chid bimba sakshi atmadhiyam prasangata tu eva ekatra vasad analakta lohavat. So how this jada, insentient, appears to be sentient, that is because of mutual superimposition. And the very good example that we have been seeing from Atma Bodha is about the iron ball and the fire. When an iron ball is put into the fire, they mutually take the characteristics of each other. So iron ball, which is cold, has weight, has a shape, and black in color. Then when it is heated up, it becomes red hot. So it becomes hot, then it has got a color also. Similarly, the fire which doesn't have any weight, any shape, any size, and it is hot to touch and bright, so that acquires a shape, a size, and a weight in the form of that iron ball. So this is called as mutual superimposition. So this mutual superimposition, chid bimba sakshi atmadhiyam prasangatah tu ekatra eva ekatra. So due to close proximity of these two, the insentient intellect, buddhi, and the pure consciousness, due to their close proximity, like the iron ball and the fire, anyonyam adhyasa vashat tatiyate. Because of this mutual superimposition, it appears to be sentient. Like the iron appears to be now hot and red in color, bright in color. So similarly, this inert, insentient, non-living buddhi appears to be sentient. Anyonya adhyasavat tatiyate appears jada ajadatvam. So the jada appears to be ajada. So the inert appears to be sentient. Chidatma chetasaha. So because of the close proximity of this pure consciousness, that which is actually insentient appears to be now an intelligent ego, sentient very much. Then in the 42nd shloka, it was said that Guroho sakashadapi vedavakyatah sanjata vidyan anubhavah nirikshata, and swa atmanam atmastha upadivarjitam yajet ashesha jadam atmagocharam. So this Vyatirek and Anvay sadhana is there. Vyatireka sadhana neti neti, what self is not. and then contemplating on the scriptural statement that speak about the self. That is the Anvaya Sadhana. So that is done by Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. As we are doing now Shravana Sadhana. And then with the being in the close proximity of Sadguru, or with his grace, Guru's grace, and just by Guru's grace is not enough. We have to put efforts. And effort from our part is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam is the effort that we put. And constantly by doing this, then one realizes the self, one's real self. The direct realization of oneself happens within Swa Atmanam Atmastu and Upadi Varjitaha, without any upadis, without any conditioning or upadi of the Panchakoshas. Having done that, then having realized the self, then thereafter Tyajet Ashesham Jadam Atma Gocharam. So thereafter he gives up everything that is Jada. So that is the objects, things and beings of this world that is known through the senses, mind and intellect. So this world is entire world of giving up means what? Then he's no more attracted to that. Because once we have got the highest, why will we go after the trifles? That will not be any attraction for us at all. Now we have got the highest. So Tyajet Ashesham, there is no physical giving up of things. One will not be attracted at all, not going into the world again, into the names and forms. For what purpose? When one has got the highest in this world. Now, having said that, now Prabhu Ramchandraji gives us the way of contemplation, Nididhyasa, on the self. And here he gives up some pointers to contemplate on. And these pointers are actually about our own real self. What are that? Shlok 43. Prakasha rupo hamajo hamadvaya sakrud vibhato hamati va nirmalah vishuddha vijnana ghano niramaya sampurna anandamayo hamakriyah. Prakasha rupah aham ajah aham advayah asakrut vibhatah aham ativa nirmalah vishuddha vijnana ghanah niramayah sampurnah anandamayah aham akriyah. Now this is what we are in reality. This is our own description of the self. First one, Prakasha Rupah. Prakasha Rupah means self-effulgent. Self-effulgent, it doesn't require any other light to know. Self-effulgent, it illumines everything and it cannot be illumined by anything else. So that is self-effulgent. Prakasha Rupah Aham. I am of the nature of self-illumination, self-illumined, self-effulgent, and there is nothing that can illumine me. I illumine everything. And then Aham Ajah. So I am unborn. Aham Ajaya. Ajaha. Ajaya, unborn. Unborn means what? Unborn means Anadi, beginningless. Beginningless means what? It is beyond time. Beginningless. Anadi, Ajaha means also that I am not an effect of any cause. So there is no cause for me. I am not an effect of any cause. I am beginningless. I am beyond time. So therefore, Ajaha, unborn, because birth is always in time. So unborn, Ajaha, unborn means beyond time, not conditioned by time, not limited by time. And also, it also means that I am causeless. I have got no cause. I am not an effect of any cause. So aham prakasha rupah, aham ajah, aham advayah. Aham advaya. Advaya means there is no sense of otherness. Now in ignorance, I am there and I see the world around me. There are things and beings, billions and billions of creatures. They are other than me, and I see that sense of otherness is there. There is no sense of oneness there. But here Advaya means there is no sense of otherness. One with everything. In fact, I alone exist. No sense of otherness. There is an incident in the life of Udiya Babaji. Udiya Baba was a great master from Orissa, and therefore he was known as Udiya Baba. So some people had taken him to Vrindavan, to Baki Bihari temple. So he entered the temple and he stood in front of the Baki Bihari and he just stood there. Now everybody goes to a temple and does namaskar or pranam, something like that they will do, or do sastang dandavat or something like that. But Udiya Babaji just stood there doing nothing. So somebody around him, the ones who had taken him there, they nudged him. Maharaj, you have to do namaskar, you have to do pranam. So then Udiya Babaji told him, you have to remind me that. Why you didn't remind me? That means, as far as Udiya Baba was concerned, there was no sense of otherness. You see, he was one with the Supreme Reality. There was no sense of otherness. In Upasana, there is a slow evolution. We start our Upasana with Sagun Sakar. We need a form to worship, Sagun Sakar. So, we start with Sagun Sakar and then we graduate to doing Upasana of Sagun Nirakar. Like Om Upasana. That is Sagun, but it is Nirakar. So we graduate to doing that. And then finally we get into Nirgun Nirakar. In Nirgun Nirakar, who will do Upasana of whom? Who will worship whom? Where there is no form, no attributes, absolutely nothing. Then we merge into that. Who will worship whom? So, Aham Advayah, non-dual. Asakrut. Sakrut means once, and Asakrut means always, ever, or eternally, one can say. Asakrut, Vibhatah. Vibhatah means resplendent or always shining, always illumining, like the sun is always shining. Sun actually never sets. It is always there. So it is always shining like that. So, Aham Asakrut Vibhatah. Always resplendent, always shining, always illumining. So earlier it was said Aham Advaya. In Advaya also, it also means that non-dual, there is no internal division also. From these three types of that Sajatiya, Vijatiya, and Swagata Bheda is not there. In that is also there. And now Vibhati, that is always resplendent. Now we have to understand these two words. Earlier it was said Prakasha Rupaha, self-effulgent. And here it is said always resplendent. Vibhataha. Now, generally what comes to our mind when you say that Prakasha Rupa, that means, am I something like a billion watt bulb, like something like that? Is that like that the self? That it is illumining everything. It is a powerful light or something like that. One has to understand what this illumination is. Is it like a light bulb, a billion watt light bulb, a trillion watt light bulb? The self is very shining and it illumines everything like that, something. One has to understand that what is this illumination? Illumination is the knowingness, consciousness, awareness that can illumine everything. And therefore, why it is said that it illumines everything, nothing can illuminate, and it is self-effulgent, self-illumining and all that thing. Because The waking plane of consciousness, it not only illumines all the experiences, names and forms in the world of waking plane of consciousness, but most important is the other two states of consciousness. In the dream state, a person who is asleep in his bedroom at night time with the doors and windows closed, lights switched off, and the sheet pulled over, his eyes are closed, and it is a moonless night. And then he dreams. What does he dream? He is on a river bank. It is a bright and sunny morning. Lots of trees are there. Birds are chirping. Children are playing. In the distance, the mountains and hills are there. And he's seeing all that thing. Bright, sunny morning, he's seeing that. Now he's actually sleeping in a room where the lights are switched off. His eyes are closed, sheet is pulled over, and outside also there are no light. There are, because of moonless night, Amavasya. And yet he's seeing this bright sunny morning in his dream. What is that light which illumines this dream? That is this consciousness. That is this pure self. One has to understand that. So when it is self-illumining, one should not look at that, okay, it is some kind of a bulb, a very powerful bulb which illumines everything. No. Then further, in the deep sleep state, it illumines the absence of the waking and the dream state. It illumines the absence also. It not only illumines the presence, but it also illumines the absence. Because in the deep sleep state, nothing is there, nothing else is there. But the consciousness is still there, and therefore the experience of the deep sleep state is illumined by the same consciousness. Therefore, when we wake up, we say we didn't know anything, but we enjoyed it. So that experience of bliss or happiness was illumined, was known. We became aware of that, was known to us only because of this consciousness. So kind of it illumined it. So therefore this Prakasha Rupa as Sakruta, Asakrutam, Vibhataha, resplendent, this has to be understood properly, what this light is. It is not the light of some light bulb. So this is awareness, knowingness, consciousness. And then Aham Ativa Nirmalaha. Ativa Nirmalaha means extremely pure. Ativa Nirmala. Extremely pure means it has got no modifications of the mind. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are the modifications of the mind which causes us a lot of trouble. So, Ativa Nirmala, pure, without any blemish or anything like that. Then, Vishuddha Vijnana Ghanaha. Vishuddha Vijnana Ghanaha, of the nature of pure consciousness, Vijnana Ghanaha, homogeneous mass of pure consciousness. You see, where there is pure consciousness. Why this word pure is attached with consciousness? Because it is vritti rahit, thought free, vastu rahit, objectless, and pure blissful awareness it is. Vishuddha Vijnana Ghanaha. Niramayaha. Niramayaha means it is without any vikalpa, without any blemish. Without any blemish, there are no agitations, there are no disturbances. As it is Ativa Nirmala. So there are no agitations or disturbances caused by the 6 vikaras of the mind, the major 6 vikaras, Kama, Krodha, Lopa, Moha, Pada, Matsarya, that is not there. So there is no disturbance. And also, it is Niramayaha. It is without the blemish or taint of Avarana and Vikshepa, veiling and projection of Maya. You see, therefore it is beyond Maya or Maya Tita. So Niramayaha, Sampurna. Sampurna is infinite, Akhanda, indivisible, one, and therefore Maya Tita. Anything that is conditioned by Maya is limited. So this is Akhanda, Sampurna, Akhanda, infinite, and not conditioned by Maya. Therefore Maya Tita. Anandamayaha, of the nature of infinite bliss. Aham Akriyaha. Aham Akriyaha, I am actionless. Akriyaha. So there is no action or no kriya in that. When do we fall into action? when we have a notion that we are incomplete. There is a sense of lack of something. And then to complete that, what can give me a sense of contentment, fulfillment, completion? And therefore we go into this world, and by trial and error method, we keep doing things like that. Now I have realized the self. I am that infinite bliss. I have nothing to gain from this external world, which is highly limited. So therefore, there is no question of any action as such. So action arises due to ignorance and due to desire. Because of ignorance, there is desire. Because of desire, to fulfill the desire, we get into action. Kriya is there. And then the cycle begins there. So raga, dvesha, and everything comes. But because Vishuddha Vijnana Ghana, and therefore I am Akriya. No action. There is no need of anything to do. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go. Reveling in the bliss. Now, the following verse also enumerates additional exercises in contemplation on Nididhyasana. So this is also Nididhyasana. Sadaiva mukto hamachintya shaktiman atindriya jnanam avikriyatmakah anantaparo hamahar nisham budaihi vibhavitoham hrudivedavadibhihi sada eva muktah aham achintya shaktiman atindriya jnanam avikriyatmakah ananta aparah aham aharnisham budaihi vibhavitah aham hrudivedavadibhihi. So now, sada eva muktah aham. I am always free. There is no time when we are bound actually. We are always free. But because of ignorance, we feel bound and limited. So sadaiva muktah aham. So I am always free in all the three periods of time, past, present, and future, in all the three states of consciousness, waking, dream, and deep sleep state, in all places, in all conditions, in all circumstances, with or without form, with or without rupa or form. You see, I was never bound and never ever will be bound. Always ever free. You see, so sada eva muktah aham. That is our essential nature. Achintya Shaktiman. Achintya Shaktiman, my power is immeasurable, beyond thoughts, beyond thinking. You cannot even think the power that I have. It is infinite power, the nature of infinite power. And Ishwar's power is a minor expression of my infinite power. See, so Achintya Shaktiman. So Ishwar's power, who with the upadhi of Maya creates this entire existence and all that thing, that the power that is utilized to create all this thing, that is a minor expression of this Achintya Shakti of the pure self. So Achintya Shaktiman, Atindriya Jnanam. Now this Atindriya Jnanam. Atindriya Jnanam means this is beyond the senses, mind, and intellect. It is not an object of knowledge. This pure self is not an object of knowledge. It cannot be known by the sense organs, mind, or intellect. Atindriya Jnanam. It is pure knowledge, pure consciousness, pure awareness, and it cannot be known by the senses, mind, and intellect. We use the sense organs, mind, and intellect to know all the objects of the world. Therefore, the self cannot be objectified. It is not an object of knowledge. So, Atindriya, so it cannot be known as Buddhi because it is Vishuddha. And then Atindriya Jnanam Avikriyatmakah. So this knowledge, Atindriya Jnanam It is beyond any thoughts, beyond any emotions, cannot be known by thoughts or anything like that. And therefore, what it is exactly, now these are all the pointers. Now in the previous shloka, whatever was given, Prakasha Rupaha, Ajaha, Advayaha, these are all the pointers. Now, these pointers also, most of them are given in form of negation. Dvaita we know, Advaya we do not know. So it is Advaya. Birth we know, non-birth we do not know. What is that? Have we seen anything which is unborn like that? So that we do not know. So in the negation it is given. The full description of the self is not given as such. So in negation it is indicated. And therefore it is beyond even thoughts and therefore beyond intellect. Beyond emotions or feelings or sentiments, therefore beyond mind and beyond the senses. So, and avikriyatmaka. Avikriyatmaka means it is without the shadvikara. Shadvikara, the sixfold modifications of birth, of existence, of growth, and then disease, decay, and death. These are the sixfold modifications of any form. So it is without this. Ananta. Ananta we have seen earlier also. Ananta, that is of the nature of infinite self. Infinite, when it is said infinite, means it is beyond the limitations of space, time, object, and possession, beyond the cause. It has no cause, causeless. So infinite, and nothing can condition it. The self cannot be conditioned by anything like that. And apare, beyond all limitations. So it cannot be conditioned by anything, beyond all limitations. And therefore, of course, being infinite is all pervasive also. And apare, it is shoreless. Apare means shoreless. That is another way of saying infinite, shoreless, apare. Then, aham arnisham, udaihi vibhavitaha aham udi vedavadibi. Now, these Vedic scholars, day and night, they contemplate upon me alone. All the saints, sages, Vedic scholars, and everybody, they contemplate continuously, day and night, on my infinite essential nature, self. So, here again, Prabhu Ramchandra Ji has given some pointers for contemplation for own self. Then, continuing further in the 45th shloka. Evam sadatmanamakhଣ୍ଡitātmana vichāramanasya vishuddha bhavanam hanyāda vidyāmavachirena kārakaihi rasayanam yadvadupāsitam rujah. Evam sada atmanam akhandita-atmana vicharamanasya vishuddha bhavana hanyat avidyam achirena karakaihi rasayanam yadvat upasitam rujah. So now, evam sada. So, thus, always, one who contemplates atmanam akhandita atmana vichara manasya vishuddha bhavana. One who continuously reflects and contemplates on this pure self, akhanda, that is non-divisible, indivisible, infinite, pure self, continuously, vichara manasya, continuously, vishuddha bhavana, that pure knowledge with a pure mind, when continuously one contemplates on that, then hanyat avidyam achirena karakaihi. Hanyat avidya, then it will destroy the ignorance. Continuous contemplation is required to get rid of, because we have been in ignorance for millions of lives together. So this continuous contemplation, when we are doing it, we cannot tell, no realized master can ever tell what day, at what precise moment he realized the truth. It can happen at any time, in any place, anywhere. So Hanyad, it is destroyed. Vidyam Achirena, quickly, in a flash, this can be destroyed and one can realize the self. And when this ignorance is destroyed, of course, all the effects of this ignorance is also destroyed then. The effects of the ignorance, that also goes away. Because of ignorance, we were suffering. So that suffering also goes away instantly. The moment we realize ourselves, all our suffering goes away. All the attachment, aversions, raga, dvesha, this, that, and everything that is gone instantly. Hanyad, avidyam, achirena karakai, all its effects also. And then the example given is, now one doubt may come that are we replacing one thought with another thought? And that remains, because the pure self is without any thought or emotion or anything like that. Like we are told that we are not the body. Earlier, our notion was aham dehosmi, I am the body. Now we are told that no, you are Brahma Swarupa, so aham Brahmasmi. Is one thought aham dehosmi, I am the body, being replaced by aham Brahmasmi, I am pure self? But that is also a thought. Aham Brahmasmi is also a thought. So here Prabhu Ramchandraji gives an example. This also example comes often in the scriptures. Rasayanam yadvat upasitam rujaha. Rujaha is disease. Now medicine is taken. If there is a disease, a medicine is taken continuously to cure that disease. And then it cures the disease and then itself gets eliminated. Similarly, this aham dehosmi thought is replaced by aham brahmasmi thought, and that aham brahmasmi thought also has to go, because that is also a thought. So that also has to go, and shuddha bodha remains. So rasayanam yadvad upasitam ruju. So that also gets eliminated, aham brahmasmi thought. Then there is only pure awareness, that's all. This aham thought of I also, I will be there only if there is something other than I. In the realization of self, there is only I and there is nothing other than I, then that notion of I also is not there. And therefore this aham brahmasmi thought also will go away. Having said that, in the 46th shloka, now here Prabhu Ramchandra tells us about the sadhana. How to start this sadhana, what are the preparations for the sadhana, what are the preparations we should do for the sadhana and for the higher contemplation. So in the 46th shloka, Vivikta asina uparatendriyaha vinirjitatma vimalantarashayah vibhavayede kamananya sadhanaha Vijnana Drukkevala Atma Samstitaha. Vivikta Asina Uparata Indriyaha Vinirjitatma Vivalantarashaya Ashayaha Vibhavayet Ekam Ananya Sadhanaha Vijnana Druk Kevala Atma Samstitaha. Now, what are the steps that we are supposed to take? So, these 5-6 things we have to do. First is Vivikta Asana. Where should we sit for our sadhana? Vivikta Asana. Vivikta Asana means what? A place where at least we have no external disturbance. I said at least there is no external disturbance means we do not know about the internal disturbance that which crops up in the mind and all that thing. But at least there should be no external disturbance. So therefore, Vivikta Asana, a place where we can sit without the external disturbance and all that thing. And Uparata Indriyaha. Uparata Indriyaha means the sense organs have been withdrawn. Now this Uparata Indriya, what it means is basically a part of Sadhan Chatushtaya for a seeker. So first in sadhana chatushtaya is viveka. From viveka comes vairagya. When viveka and vairagya has come, then sixfold sampatti is there. Shama, Dama, Uparam, the first three. So when viveka and vairagya is there, then there is sufficient control. Shama is the control of the mind. Dama is the control of the sense organs. And Uparama is the withdrawal of the mind from the external world. So this is the process. With viveka only, the vairagya that comes will last. The avesha vairagya will not last. Because sometimes people become vairagi. Because some tragedy has happened and what is the use of this world? I'm giving up everything, I'll take sannyas. That is called as avesha vairagya. And avesha vairagya oftentimes doesn't last. Because the moment the circumstances are conducive, then again that person will go into the world again. Now because some tragedy happened, some problem happened, and then suddenly he gives up, I don't want to do anything, now I'll take to sannyas. No. So this is avesha vairagya, it usually doesn't last. Viveka vairagya, that which comes from discriminative thinking, that is there really any joy, pleasure or happiness in the external world? They are all limited, time-bound, impermanent, fleeting, ephemeral and passing by, and there is no real joy, pleasure or happiness. It is only your imagination that we think that there is something there. So this process has to be followed. Viveka, vairagya, and then comes the control of the mind and the senses. Then the withdrawal, the uparama, uparata indriyaha. Now, because of that viveka, vairagya is there, at least now the mind will not run into the external world. Now it has become sufficiently antarmukha. So in an undisturbed place we sit with an antarmukha mind. So vivikta asina uparata indriyaha vinirjitatma. Now, vinirjitatma means what? Now we have said that. Then again, the problem is with our asana also. We are sitting there fine, but the asana also should be steady. We have sat in an undisturbed place, that is fine. The indriyas are all that is withdrawn from the external world, that is also fine. But can we sit for 5-10 minutes steady, in a steady posture, without moving in an idli patra like this, front and back and this way and that way? So for that, asana siddhi also has to be there, that we should be at least able to sit for 10 minutes without any movement. When we did our Chidakas Dharana, in that, the second stage is the Kaya Sthairyam, practice of Kaya Sthairyam. That is absolutely not moving the body in one moment. At least for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever time you decide, at least for that much time, you should not move the body at all. Consider the body to be like a tree. A tree is firmly rooted in the ground. It cannot move this way, that way, or other places. It is rooted in the ground. So similarly, imagine oneself to be the tree, and therefore there cannot be any movement in this body anymore. The portion below the waist is like the roots of the tree, firmly embedded in the ground. And therefore, we cannot move now. So that is, at least for 10 minutes, we should be able to sit. So, vivikta asino uparata indriyaha vinirjitatma. So, with a steady posture. The posture should be steady. Vimalantarashayaha. This is with a sattvic mind. Vimalantarashayaha, pure mind, sattvic mind. There are no agitations or disturbance. Main thing is that without raga devesha, without likes and dislikes, without attachment and aversions. Vimalantarashayaha. Then, ananya sadhana. Ananya sadhana means, now here Prabhu Ramchandra is telling us that we have to give up all the other sadhanas that we were doing earlier. All the other yogas that we were doing earlier. So, ananya sadhana, whatever we were doing, of course, when we start the sadhana adhyatmik, when we start on the spiritual path, in the beginning, we are told to do certain sadhanas. So we are doing that. Certain practices of asana and pranayam also we are told to do, that we are doing, and then slowly we progress. Namasmaran, puja part we are doing, bhajan, kirtan, and all those things we are doing. So slowly we keep progressing on that. And then we come to this stage now. Now we have to give up the hatha yoga we are doing, kriya yoga, karma yoga we are doing. So now that Karma Yoga was done to purify the mind. So now mind is sufficiently purified that Karma Yoga is no need for that also. So similarly, whatever yogas we were doing, Hatha Yoga or Kriya Yoga or Kundalini Yoga or Karma Yoga and all those things, so that has to be slowly given up. So everything has to be given up. Now we have sufficiently practiced at different stages on a spiritual path. We have done certain practices as we are advised by different masters as we came across. And now we have come to this stage that now only left is that I have to know myself and nothing else. So everything else has to be given up. Vibhavayet ekam. Now the contemplation should be on one alone. All the other practices are given up, only one contemplation. Now only on the pure self. That is only contemplation. Ananya sadhana, giving up all the yogas that we practiced earlier. They had their purpose and they served the purpose. One person approached Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi and he told Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi, I used to do 50,000 Nama Japa in a day. And then now it has happened that I sit for Japa and nothing comes. I go blank. Nothing comes. So I am a little disturbed and I am worried why this is happening. So that time, Ramana Maharshi told him, the purpose of Japa was that Sandhikala focus. And now that when you sit for Japa, no Nama comes at all. That means you are already in that Sandhikala. The purpose of doing Japa has been served. So now you can keep that mala away. No need to do that now. So all the sadhana that we do in the beginning stages, they have a purpose to serve on the spiritual path. As you progress on the spiritual path, they have their own place. They have their purpose. So they serve that purpose. So having done that, we have to progress further. So, vibhavayet ekam ananya sadhanaha vijnana druk. Vijnana druk, equipped with the vision of that pure knowledge, vijnana druk, kevala atma samstitaha. Then we have the knowledge of that self, and that knowledge of the self as per the Shruti, whatever we have studied, the Upanishad and Shruti Vakyam, and then we have to meditate on the self. So, Vijnana Druka Kevalaha Atma Samsthitam. Then meditate on the self alone and nothing else. So, all the previous sadhana is left behind. Now, this is the only thing to be done. Having said that, in the 47th shloka, Vishwam Yadetat Paramatma Darshanam Vilapayedatmani Sarva Karane Purnashchidanandamayo Vatishthate Naveda Bahyam Nachakinchidan Antaram Vishwam Yat Etat Paramananda Paramatma Darshanam Vilapayet Atmani Sarvakarane Purna Anandamayaha Na Avatishthate Veda Bayam Nacha Kinchid Antaram. Now, Vishwam Yat Etat Paramatma Darshanam. This is very beautiful. This sansara, this Ananta Koti Brahmanda, this sansara, this Srishti of names and forms, billions and billions of names and forms that we perceive is nothing but the vision of that Paramatma alone. That pure self alone, that Paramatma alone is this entire existence. Paramatma is not the Vigraha that we worship in our puja room. The expansion, the broadening of our vision. Now what is here is that Vishwam Yat Etat Paramatma Darshanam. So all this that we perceive is nothing but Paramatma Swarupa. Vibhavayet Atmani Sarvakarani. So now we should merge this. Now this is all the Paramatma Swarupa alone. So we should merge this into the self. So we have to merge this, the entire world of names and forms in that pure self. Because it is Paramatma Rupam, that is Atma Rupam only. And Sarvakarani, that pure self, that Paramatma Rupa, that pure self, that Brahma Swarupa, that is the cause of all, Sarvakarani. That is the substratum of all, cause of all. Then Purna Anandamaya. Purna Anandamaya, it is infinite, complete, nothing lacks in that. Purna, nothing can be added to that, nothing can be taken away from that. So, one who realizes the self, he merges with that infinite pure self. Purna, infinite, and Anandamaya, of the nature of infinite bliss. And the nature of infinite bliss is always vritti rahita, thought-free, objectless, blissful awareness. That is Anandamaya. Veda Bahyam Nacha Kinchit Antaram. Now, Veda Bhavyam Nacha Kinchit Antaram, after Atma Bodha, once the identity with all the upadhis are gone, eliminated, because after Atma Bodha, the ego itself is not there, ego is dissolved. There is nothing to identify with the body, sense organs, mind and intellect, nothing is there. So there is Bahyam, no Antaram. There is nothing external, there is nothing internal. So once this identity, the upadhi is dropped, then there is no out or in. There is no question of out or in. What is out and what is in? Out and in is only when we are identified with a limited form. Then there is something out and something in. Something outside my body and something within my body. Because now I am identified with this body, with a form, and there are some things outside the body, something within the body. This outside and inside is only when we are identified with a limited form. Now, when that identification is dropped with the realization of the self, there is no inside or outside or anything like that. So there is no Bahyam and Nacha Kinchit, not even little bit of Antaram. No Bahyam, no Antaram. There is no sense of inner or inside and outside. There is no question of anything inside and outside. So that is because of the limited form. Identified with a limited form, we have this notion. So there is neither the Bhaya form also is not there, nor the internal emotions, feelings, thoughts, and all those things are also not there. So, because we are reveling in that one non-dual pure self. Now, the remaining shloka, next shloka we'll take up in our next session. Now, if anybody has got any questions, they can ask.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Today's session was a revolution.
Revolution.
Because the same message is there in Ashtavakra Geeta, Swamiji.
Yes. See, there is only one Brahman, and one Brahman is only spoken of in all the Shrutis and everywhere.
Yeah.
Again and again it is repeated and hammered in because we don't get it.
Exactly. Swamiji, as the sessions progress, I firmly believe that not that out of the 4 Krupa, only Guru Krupa is required in order to get the salvation.
Guru is out of the 4, isn't it?
Yeah. Because Guru consists of all, Swamiji. Because without the Guru, it is very difficult to understand all these things, Swamiji.
Definitely. That is why scripture should not be studied on one's own. The books are available, no doubt. Upanishads are available, Brahma Sutras are available, Bhagavad Gita, everything is available with the translation, with the commentary, and everything is available. But first time, when we are studying the scriptures, we have to do Shravan Sadhana. We have to listen through an Acharya. Because in the scriptural statement, many times we come across statements that are contradictory also. Contradictory, controversial statements are there, and in the translation and in the even in the certain commentaries also, it is not very clear about it, and therefore the confusion remains. And we can ask questions when we are reading the book and a doubt arises while reading the book. Can we ask the book a question? Book, look, I have got a doubt. So therefore, in the Vedic parampara, in the Vedic tradition, always the scriptures are heard. Shravan Sadhana is done first. After Shravan Sadhana, then we may go back and read the same thing what we heard and then reflect over that, contemplate over that, and that is how the process is.
Swamiji, today's session, I would like to ask 4 questions with the permission of all other members. The first one is, last time and today also you say, Sakar Sagun, Sakar Nirgun, Nirakar Nirgun. Sakar Sagun understood, Nirakar Nirgun understood. But Sakar Nirgun, you said it is a Om Upasana. Can you throw some more light on this?
Sakar Nirgun Upasana will come now in the further shlokas, but to give a hint, what is the Sakar Nirgun Upasana? Upasana of Om is Sakar Nirgun, what you call that, Nirakar Sagun. So there is Sagun Sakar, and then Sagun Nirakar, and then Nirgun Nirakar.
Okay.
Sagun Sakar means with the form and with the qualities, with the attributes. Sagun Nirakar is without form but with attributes. And Nirgun Nirakar is formless and attributeless. So in the Sagun Nirakar, the Upasana is like on Om. Om has got no form, but it has got Guna. It is Saguna Nirakar Upasana, Om Sadhana, Om Upasana. So that will come in the further shloka. Prabhu Ramchandra ji tell us about this Omkar Upasana also.
But then Upasana, how it is to be done? It is to be understood.
In the shloka that comes.
Asa, it is mentioned there.
You don't jump the.
Okay, Swamiji.
It will come.
Acha, now the next question, Swamiji. You said that after we get up from the deep sleep, ego is the first thing which appears. Whereas Ramana Maharshi says that when the inquiry starts, ego disappears. When the inquiry starts, ego disappears. Now, and as a matter of fact, he says ego, Ramana Maharshi has said, okay, that ego is a non-existent thing. You also said that no need to do any PhD on ego or Maya or ignorance.
For whom it is non-existent?
For the realized masters.
We have to make a differentiation when Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi is speaking. He is speaking from his standpoint, he is speaking, and he is advising what his experiences he is telling the people. But to reach that level, you have to go through the steps. You see, to reach to that egoless state. When you inquire, of course, the ego disappears. There is nothing like this ego. But then, at the moment, in our ignorance, we are very much experiencing that. You see, and that is identifying with the body, mind, intellect, equipment, and therefore we are suffering in life because of that. So, like ignorance itself, avidya or maya, it is said that it is non-existent. But therefore, it is said that it is described as, it is indescribable. Anirvachniya. Maya is called as Anirvachniya. Avidya is called as Anirvachniya. Anirvachniya means it cannot be described. Why it cannot be described? Because it cannot be said that it exists. We cannot say that ignorance exists, because with knowledge that ignorance gets destroyed. Okay, that existence is what? That which is cannot be destroyed in any times, any period of time. That is existence. Okay, so ignorance gets destroyed in knowledge. So ignorance cannot be said that it exists. But it cannot be also said that it doesn't exist. Because what we are experiencing now is the result of that own ignorance. That ignorance alone we are experiencing now. This body is the result of ignorance only. So we are experiencing that. So we cannot say that it doesn't exist also. If we say it exists, then it gets destroyed by knowledge. And if we say that it doesn't exist, we are actually experiencing it now. So therefore it is called as indescribable, anirvachniya. Maya and ignorance is called as anirvachniya. So that is what it is. As long as that ignorance is there, this problem is there. Once that ignorance goes away, then what is Maya and what is ego and what is ignorance? Nothing of that kind is there.
So Swamiji, something which does not exist, how can it play havoc with us?
That is the $1 million question. You see, coming to that understanding is very important. That has been creating havoc for us for millions of lives together, not 1 or 2 lives. Can you imagine? Something that actually doesn't exist.
Swamiji, then, so I understand you are asking us to solve this riddle by ourselves only. Am I right?
As we dive deeper and deeper into our own self, the revelations will come. You see, as we dive deeper and deeper into our own self, then slowly the external world doesn't disturb us. You see, and we get deeper and deeper insight into our own self, and one fine day the things happen just like that. Achirena, as it was said today, when that avidya is destroyed, and achirena, everything goes away instantly. Goes away in the sense that it will not affect us. It is as good as non-existent for us. It may be there, with the charma chakshu it can be seen, all those things are there, but there is no sense of otherness with that. Whatever is seen through the charma chakshu, to this golaka or the eye, but because of the realization, our perception is from the jnana chakshu, not from the charma chakshu. So because the perception is from the jnana chakshu, it doesn't disturb us. It doesn't matter to us.
Okay, Swamiji, I wish that you give me a very straight answer to this question. Is Bandhan and Mukti are simply notions? Because the way you are describing, and we are attending for last 18, 19 months, I feel that this Bandhan and Mukti is simply in our mind. They are notions, you know.
Yes, of course, that is what it is. That is what it is said in Mandukya Upanishad also. It is said in the Brahma Bindu Upanishad also. It is the same thing. Na nirodho na cha utpattihi, na baddho na cha sadhakaha, na mumukshu na vaimuktaha, ityesha paramarthataha. There is neither destruction nor creation. There is na baddha na cha sadhaka. There is no one bound. Now there is any seeker of truth, seeker of freedom, or seeker of moksha. And then there is no one mukta. So like that. So na nirodha na cha mutpattihi, na baddho na cha sadhakaha, na mumukshu na vaimuktaha. There is no one seeking moksha or liberation, and there is no one liberated. Ityesha paramarthata, that is the absolute truth. The same mantra is there in Brahma Bindu Upanishad also, in Mandukya Upanishad also. But to reach there, it takes time to reach there. Now, when that is told directly to a person, he said, what nonsense is that? I can see the world and I can see myself in trouble and I feel limited and bound and all that thing. And what this nonsense is that? Na baddho na cha sadhaka, na mukshuna vaimuktaha. So therefore, slowly we have to go through this process. They are the notion. But we are bound by that. And that is why in Taittiriya Upanishad, how does the Guru know that the disciple has realized the truth? So when the disciple realizes the truth, he starts laughing. He laughs 3 times. In that it is there, it comes ha, hu, ha, Ahamannam, 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 hamannado, 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 so on he goes on. So why does he laugh 3 times? First time he laughs. The moment he realizes this, in that flush of that infinite bliss, he laughs Allah. And second time he laughs because what a fool I was. It was so simple and how I couldn't get it. So second time he laughs. And third time he laughs because what a fool I was in my foolishness and ignorance, what stupid things I was doing in this world. 3 times he laughed. Then Guru knows, now this disciple has realized, now he'll leave the place and I'll never see him again. That's it.
But Swamiji, from waking up from the dream is so easy, so easy. It's just a, but to wake up from this Jagrata Avastha, God has made, or rather we only have made things very difficult. It sounds very difficult.
That is what this Maya Shakti is all about. That is why Krishna says, no, Mama Maya Duratyaya. It is very difficult to cross my Maya. But he says it is very difficult to cross. He doesn't say it is impossible to cross.
Right.
Mama Maya Duratyaya. Duratyaya, it is very difficult to cross my Maya. That doesn't mean that you cannot cross. He doesn't say that it is impossible to cross my Maya. You can cross.
And
Abhyasena to kaunteya vaigragyena cha gruyate. That is what was told to Arjuna. How much he understood, he didn't understand anything. And he landed in hell after Mahabharata.
Now, Swamiji, either today or in future, next session, or I want you to explain us the Manas Puja. How should we do the Manas Puja? You narrated
Manas
your
Puja.
experience. Yeah, you narrated your what happened at Sandipani. But how should we go about doing Manas? Because it is much superior to the other kind of puja.
Yeah, Dravya Puja. Compared to Dravya Puja, Manas Puja is no doubt superior. But only thing in Manas Puja is that you have to have the mind should be extremely single pointed. Because when we are doing Dravya Puja, then your mind is occupied with all the puja samagri. You are lighting the lamp. In Manas Puja, you only light the lamp and then sit for puja and do nothing else. And all the kriya is there in the mind. Here we are giving the abhishekam, then we are giving the vastra, then chandan tika, and then we are giving the nevedyam, then arti, then we light the karpuram and all that thing and ring the bell. So all these things we are doing with the dravya. So our mind is occupied with the activities there in the puja, on the altar. Now when we are doing in Manas Puja, after lighting the lamp, we sit with the eyes closed, and all these activities that we are doing, giving abhishekam, giving vastra, chandan tika, then nevedya, arti, nevedya, and all these things, that is done only in the mind. And there, if the mind is not single pointed, it is likely to go here and there. So that mind has to be tied down in that puja space alone. So we have to make the mind single pointed. To make the mind single pointed, there are practices that pranayam can help us to make the mind single pointed. Then there is Jyoti Trataka practices there that will help us to make the mind single pointed to a great extent. So when the mind is single pointed, we can tie it down to that place. And when we are doing Manas Puja, first most important thing is that there is no vigraha there. It is Sakshat, our Ishta Devata, sitting there. We have done the Avanam and he is very much there. And it is an interactive session. It is not a one-way traffic, one-way communication. It is an interactive session. So with this attitude, we sit there, and when our Ishta Devata is there, is no question of your mind wanting here and there when he's sitting there. So this Manas Puja, and once you get the hang of it, then you love that session, that Manas Puja session. Then you realize that what you have been missing.
But Swamiji, what is the process? My Ishta Devata is sitting in front of me with my closed eye. Then what?
Yeah,
what is the process thereafter?
The process I will explain. In detail, I will explain how to go about that. How to have that interactive session with Ishta Devata. And all the process that we are doing, we have to be very careful when we are doing Manas Puja. And in Manas Puja, another advantage is that we can have the best of Puja Samagri. You see, everything made out of pure gold, you see. And the best of Nevedya, what our Ishta Devta likes. Everything. So the way we want it exactly, like that we can have it. That is the best thing to do.
So these are all virtual Swamiji, right?
All virtual. But it is in the mind. The screen of the mind. In the mind you are doing it, and that is a very good session. Once you get the hang of it, you'll start enjoying it.
Yeah.
You see? So we'll have a session on that. In detail, I'll explain how to go about it, and then start doing that.
Swamiji, last question. So so one who does the Manas Puja becomes the witness in that?
Manas Puja, when you are doing it, there is as I said, it is an interactive session. You see, so you are having an active session, an interactive session with your Ishta Devta. There is a give and take, and then there is a chat, there is a discussion that is going on. And then you ask something and he says something, he asks something and you say something, and something like that, it goes on.
Swamiji, we shall be waiting for that session.
So that will be an interesting thing, you see. And then slowly you progress from Manas Puja when you are doing that. Now that Ishta Devta, then as it was said today, see, the entire existence is Paramatma Swarup alone. And that entire existence is that Paramatma Swarup, and that Paramatma Swarup is the self alone. So again, further from Manas Puja, then we have to graduate to that level. Seeing that Ishta Devta as Paramatma Swarupa, and Paramatma Swarup is Atma Swarupa. So this is how it goes. That is how great bhaktas, how did they realize it? Now, Tukaram Maharaj. Tukaram Maharaj realized the self. He was a bhakta, a Vithal bhakta. And through that process, his bhakti reached Parakashta stage, where the bhakta and that the object of his devotion, they both became one. And he had the Advaita Darshana. You see, the pure self. And then he realized, oh, so this is what the story is. Then he said that now I have understood everything. I don't care if you want to send me again to this earth, or it doesn't matter to me. I have understood the game.
Okay, Swamiji. Thank you very much.
Shall we conclude?
Yeah, thank you very much, Swami.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.